What would you do if the slips of paper in your pocket were, in fact, nothing more than worthless scrap? In the early 18th century, France decided to perform the grandest magic trick in human history on its entire citizenry. An empty treasury, mountains of debt, and a nation on the brink of collapse. The escape route France chose was neither honest labor nor taxation. It was an attempt to transplant a fake heart into a dying empire, using nothing but ink and paper.
September 1st, 1715. King Louis XIV, who reigned as the sun for 72 years, takes his final breath. The legacy he left behind was not the glory of a magnificent palace, but a staggering mountain of national debt. 3 billion livres. At the time, France's annual revenue was a mere 300 million livres. It was an astronomical sum that would take 10 years of the entire national budget to repay, without spending a single soul. On the surface, France still looked like Europe's superpower, but its heart had already stopped beating. National bankruptcy was no longer a fear, it was a reality. The real issue wasn't just the amount of debt, but the very structure of the French state. Interest rates on government bonds sat at 8 to 10%. More than half of the national tax revenue evaporated just to pay off interest on old debts rather than creating new value. Even more absurd was the fact that where there was money, there were no taxes. The nobility and clergy hid behind the privilege of tax exemption, leaving the crushing weight of taxation solely on the shoulders of impoverished peasants and the urban poor. Even then, the state did not collect taxes directly. Private tax collectors, known as the Ferme Générale, pocketed massive commissions, leaving only crumbs for the national treasury. The more the people were squeezed, the louder the screams grew. Yet the granaries remained empty. The throne passed to Louis XV, who was only 5 years old. Power fell to his uncle, the regent Philippe II of Orléans. He knew all too well that every path led to disaster. Declaring bankruptcy would kill the nation's credit. Raising taxes would ignite a populist riot. Attempting reform would turn the nobility against him. France had no exits left. It was then that a man appeared in the Parisian social circles. John Law, a Scottish wanderer, gambler, and radical financial thinker who was obsessed with probability and sought to apply the mathematics of the casino to the national economy. His argument was provocative. Money is not gold or silver. Money is merely a credit that facilitates trade. In May 1716, with the full support of the regent, John Law established the Banque Générale. For the first time in French history, he began issuing paper banknotes. These slips of paper were not 100% backed by gold. Instead, they were backed by government debt. Remarkably, the experiment worked. Money began to circulate, trade accelerated, and the rusted gears of French commerce started to turn once more. In 1718, the experiment moved to the next level. The French crown nationalized Law's bank, transforming it into the Banque Royale. Paper money was now the official currency, guaranteed by the king. People began to trust the light slips of paper, as if they were heavy gold coins. John Law was hailed as the savior of France. But Law's true ambition lay beyond the bank. In 1717, he founded the Mississippi Company, which held an exclusive monopoly on the development of the vast Louisiana Territory in North America. Rumors spread.
Gold is everywhere you step. Silver flows like the river.
The reality, however, was bleak. In that vast wilderness, there were only about 700 European settlers and not a single gold mine to be found. This is where John Law's financial alchemy came into play. Shares in the Mississippi Company were issued at 500 livres, but you couldn't buy them with cash. You had to pay with government bonds. He swapped national debt for company stock. On the balance sheets, the nation's debt seemed to vanish like magic. Citizens fell into the illusion that they had traded worthless government IOUs for a stake in the golden land of Mississippi. In 1719, Law absorbed the East India trade, China trade, tobacco monopolies, and even the National Mint to create a colossal conglomerate, the Compagnie des Indes. The stock price skyrocketed from 500 livres to 10,000, a 20-fold increase. Rue Quincampoix in Paris became paralyzed by crowds desperate to buy shares. It was an age of madness, where chambermaids became overnight millionaires and counts were reduced to beggars.
Numbers may lie, but reality does not. The ships returning from Louisiana brought not gold, but despair. The amount of paper money issued by the bank had far exceeded its actual silver reserves. In early 1720, savvy aristocrats began lining up at the bank to convert their paper back into gold. The levy of trust had sprung a leak. John Law attempted to regain control through force. He banned the private ownership of gold, mandated the use of banknotes, and manipulated exchange rates. But trust built at gunpoint is flimsier than a sandcastle. Overnight, Law went from a celebrated savior to a national villain and fled the country under the cover of night. The French economy spiraled into an unprecedented depression, and the trauma was so deep that it would take more than 70 years for the French people to trust paper money again.
They believed they could control abstract values like human greed and trust through precise mathematical formulas. This reckless gamble to cover debt with paper eventually became the spark for a much larger fire: the Great Explosion of the French Revolution. Was what France tried to print truly wealth? Or was it merely a mirage to buy a little more time? Thank you for watching.